A David Pakman Show audience member Noah told me about Crossroads Generation. Crossroads Generation is a group that was seeded with money from a number of different Republican organizations, including Young Republicans, College Republicans, as well as American Crossroads. It's itself it's kind of a super PAC special interest type group. It is the epitome of brainwashing young people who may not seek out all of the facts. These are ads that I'm going to show you, which are targeted towards young people specifically. And I have to tell you, I think they're probably pretty effective. They're well produced. Let's look at a couple of these. Here's one on healthcare reform. These are 60-second ads filled with misinformation meant to indoctrinate young people into being right-wingers.
Crossroads Generation presents 60 Seconds on Healthcare Reform and Young Americans. In 2010, Democrats in Congress passed the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare. Democrats say it's good for young people. I mean, who wouldn't want to stay on their parents' insurance, especially in the Obama economy, when you can't even find a job to get your own health care?
Okay, there, number one, we have to look at that. What does that have to do with the Obama economy? Age 18 to 29 always has a higher underemployment rate. Particularly because a lot of those people are in college. So a lot of distortions. Let's continue.
But actually, states already allowed kids to stay on their parents' insurance before Obamacare.
Some did, and very often it wasn't until age 26. Very often it was 23 or 24. So again, factually not an outright lie, but a complete distortion in the context of these ads.
Also says you can't be dropped for pre-existing conditions. Sounds nice, right? But the only way that works is if the government forces you to buy insurance and fines you if you don't. It's so bad, it's made it all the way to the Supreme Court. In fact, the lawyer arguing on behalf of Obamacare admitted that young people would be forced to pay more for insurance than what they actually need. And premiums are already up 9%.
Right. Now, of course, premiums have been going up every year for a really long time, and they continue to go up. And by the way, if you're even observing this since Obamacare was voted on, well, you're forgetting about the fact that most of that policy hasn't even been implemented yet. How could you expect it to already start affecting premium prices?
And not to mention the Supreme Court ruled that it was constitutional.
No question about it. Okay, so then here's another one. We don't need to see the rest of it. Here's one on taxes, just to give you a little more flavor of this.
Crossroads Generation presents a 60-second primer on taxes. At the end of the year, if Congress and Obama don't take action, taxes will go up. President Obama has said he wants to increase taxes on families making $250,000 or more. That sounds like a lot. So what's the problem? For starters, it would mean higher taxes on 894,000 small businesses, which could have used that money to invest, grow, and hire new workers.
Okay, so now we get into the age-old nonsense conundrum of people are going to hire, those businesses are going to hire simply from having lower taxes. It's absurd. Businesses hire when there's demand for their product or service. Where would additional demand for their product or service come from if they're allowed to keep a little bit of extra money in their bank accounts? It makes absolutely no sense. If you've got the demand now, hire the people now. You're not going to avoid hiring because the taxes will be higher. Total nonsense. And it kind of goes on from there. We don't need to see the rest of it. Lastly, here's a very short comment from one of the people who was on video talking about who knows what, making it seem like Crossroads, this American Crossroads thing is just great for them. Or I'm sorry, what's the name of this thing?
Generation Crossroads.
Crossroads Generation. Let's get a look at this.
As millennials, we really have it tough. First, we have to find a job after graduation, avoid moving in with mom and dad, and worry about how to pay off all these college loans. But we also have to worry about retirement too. Social Security and Medicare are set to go bankrupt before we even hit our 60s, and we set to pay tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars into these systems over our lifetimes, and there's no guarantee that the money is going to be there to pay for our benefits that we're entitled to. Yet, the only folks having a conversation about reforms are the very folks whose benefits aren't at risk, which are people who are the age of 55 and older.
Yeah, you want to talk about that? The only people talking about the health care reform are people who already have government health care for life because they're in the House and Senate. So this is the type of thing. Young people need to be aware that this is going on. You're getting told flat out false information, distortions, lies. It's sickening, Lewis. It really is bad.
It is pretty bad.
And the thing is, they have a lot of money. They have a lot of money, so expect this to continue. Let's take a break. We'll be back. We'll talk about Julian Assange. You're not going to believe the standoff that's developing at the Ecuadorian embassy in the United Kingdom. Unbelievable stuff. Stay tuned.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.